hoping y'all can hear me because I think I lost audio.
We can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, y'all. Good morning, everybody. I just had a moment. So thank you again for waiting. We had a slight delay, but we should be all right time-wise. Hopefully everybody has had a chance to log on. I hope we're not missing too many people. This is our second day of the Winter Regional meeting. My name is Lorena Gonzalez. I am the Senior Manager for the Early Education Branch. Many of you were on with us yesterday. I hope you were able to join us again today. If not, I hope you're sharing this information with colleagues that may not be able to join us. I know I shared yesterday's agenda with you, or I shared today's agenda with you yesterday, but I'm going to run through it again real quick today. Today's presentations will focus on early educator support, which is teacher licensure for NC Pre-K. Then we'll move into NC Pre-K contracts, and then NC Pre-K budget, and then we'll have overall Q&A at the end. So again, just a reminder of our layout for the meeting and instructions before I kind of jump into these on the slide here. Yes, you will get a copy of this presentation. I think I said yesterday that we will be sending out PDFs of the presentation by the end of the day today, so please be looking out for those. As usual, only the presenters are able to speak and all of our participants have been muted. If you have questions, please submit them into the Q&A box. Yesterday we had questions going into both the chat and the Q&A, and that's, fine if you do that by mistake or whatever, we'll catch it. We do have staff monitoring both boxes, but it would be easier to manage and keep them all in the Q&A, so if you could just be mindful of that, that would be helpful. A Q&A document will be developed and distributed to everybody. That will not be available this afternoon. Q&A documents take a little bit of time because we have to look at them, review them, clean them up, edit them, and then, make them look all pretty and send them out to you guys and post them on our website attached with the webinar. I will say, just like I said yesterday, that you will get the PDF of the Q&A even if we haven't uploaded it to our website. So that hopefully will come in the coming days, but please don't expect it tomorrow. Just as a reminder, this meeting is being recorded, and we do have staff available to assist you with any IT issues you may have. You can go ahead and type in your issue if you're having one. We have Tammy Freeman from our IT department helping us, so she will be able to respond if you run into any issues. And just a reminder, again, the purpose of our meeting is to provide you, our NC Pre-K contracting agencies, with information that's related to the remainder of the 2021 program year, or the point that we're currently in now. For those of you that are new, we do have a summer regional meeting, so you'll be getting information at that point related to that time of the year. So we hope that today's information is helpful to you. You can ask questions throughout the presentation in the Q&A. You don't have to wait until the end of the presentation, and that actually helps our staff. I forgot to mention that a little earlier. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our EES manager, Detrius Jones.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Sorry for that brief delay. I was waiting for connection. I hope everyone is doing well. As Lorena has stated, I am the EES manager for the early educator support, and I would like to share some of the updates that would be most helpful to you all, as well as your site administrators, for the upcoming school year. I know we're still in the midst of this one, but because we won't meet again until later after the school year has begun, I wanted to go ahead and share with you at this time. So the first thing we would like to talk about is what's new. So we'll go over what's new with the EES. And as you see, I keep referring to us as EES. Our unit name has changed. So we were formerly, as you know, the EES LPD, which stood for Early Educator Support, Licensure, and Professional Development. And we have recently officially become just the Early Educator Support. We still have the Early Educator Support regional offices at UNC Charlotte and ECU. We've also done a mapping of our enrollment application, and I know some of you may have already seen it. It's been out there on the website. And we have done, I will introduce that to you in just a few, and walk through it with you just to see what some of the enhanced features are. We've done an enhancement of our change of information form, the separation of employment form, and of course, Lorraine and I have been working diligently with our leadership here at the Division of Child Development and Early Education to post our positions that we shared with some of you all before, but we are currently doing that. So hopefully that will be going forth in the near future, and I do mean near future, so we've been really working on it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the ESBK teacher enrollment application. And one of our goals with EES, the website, is to make sure that everything is consistently shared. And so that the language out there in the field, as well as what we talk about here in the office, is consistent, and the teachers, site administrators, contractors, you all are aware of exactly what we're talking about, because it can get misconstrued and it can cause people to be a little bit confused. And the confusion is really the part that makes our job hard on both ends, because the teachers are just lost. So we're trying to efficiently streamline things, and the first thing we had to look at was our enrollment application. So we now have a new design and enhanced feature. We have interactive and fillable PDF. It is an interactive and fillable PDF, sorry. We have quick links within the actual application for the teacher to assess if they're doing it online, of course. We have added back the instruction sheet. The instruction sheet is for added guidance only. The instruction sheet may be omitted with the actual submission of the application. We don't need it. It's just a reference for you all. We've also enhanced a feature called the application checklist, and I'm going to actually share the full application with you all, so give me just one moment. Okay, I'm waiting for it. Okay, it should be showing now. Lorena, if you could just verify that you all see it, please.
Yes, ma'am, the instruction sheet?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for a bigger view of this, this is our instruction sheet for the new EES-BK teacher enrollment application. As you can see, it outlines everything that the educator would need to do on that first sheet. I'm not going to go through each of it for the sake of time. However, it just gives the teacher general qualification information. It gives them how to create the DCD Works account, which is required. It shows it. Number 3 is approved educator preparation program, which they should be seeking before they send us an application. Number 4 tells them about the new and re-enrollment process, because this form will also be used for our new educators coming into the EES, as well as those who have been with us before and are re-enrolling. Number 5, that section is upon receipt of your enrollment, it tells them what the EES unit will do. So kind of a synopsis of what they should expect from after their enrollment application is submitted. We also give a little information about professional development that will be required upon complete enrollment, as well as we offer them additional resources and information. And again, we have put quick links in there. I'm sorry, went up a little too fast. But we put quick links in there so the teachers are able to access like a glossary of teacher licensure education terms, teach scholarship, wages, etc. And then we also, of course, have our contact information, phone and fax, our website, how to find your licensure specialist, where to mail these application packets to. So that is a summary of our new education instruction page for our application. The second page, which is actually the actual real first page of what they will be presenting to us, one feature that we have added is the WIFID ID number. And again, this is fillable if the teacher is completing this online. They can enter their WIFID ID, which will be most helpful to us because if we see it on the application, we know that that step has already been completed and there's no need for our intake to go through the process of checking to see if the WIFID ID has been, if they registered with DCDEE Works, or delay the application because they have not. So that is an added feature on this enrollment application to help efficiently streamline the process, the time frame. Another thing that we did was we kind of put things to the side and changed the format a little bit. We added some features in here where we're asking them to select all that applies to them because we do get a lot of applications for people who are not actually serving in NC pre-K roles as a lead teacher or developmental day teacher. We get a lot of applications for teachers who are actually listed as assistant teachers in plan, and those applications are not processed because we are not looking at applications for teacher assistants. We don't provide licensure services for teacher assistants. So this will help us also know that we're not wasting time on pulling up all the, as you see, the EES intake. These are all the steps that has to be completed and checked and verified along with this enrollment process. And so when we get applications for teacher assistants who are not actually in plan and there's no change request in plan for that teacher to be transitioning to a lead teacher, it slows down the process, and even so, they're kind of put on a hold status until, you know, that change request is made or we are notified that, hey, we need for Linda Loveland to be assessed for a lead teacher position. She's moving from an assistant to a lead teacher. So one big thing, as Lorena shared yesterday throughout the presentation, was communication. If you guys communicate and efficiently communicate with us and let us know if those changes are being made, that is greatly appreciated because it does help things go faster. Of course, we also put in an additional notification to let the teachers know who are completing this that a WIFID number, which is the Workforce ID number, is required for the completion of this application. If they do not have a WIFID ID number, we give them the link right here in the application so that they can go straight there to get that step completed before they submit this application to the EES. Page number 3, we've added in an applicant document checklist, as well as you can see the WIFID ID will be repeated on each page. The teacher does not necessarily have to enter it on each page. Once they put it in the first space, it will automatically populate on the other pages of this application. The applicant document list is a tool added within the applicant enrollment application for them to kind of guide them through to make sure, hey, this applies to me? Have I submitted all of this within this packet? I will not go through each and every one of those for the sake of time, but we have added things that are basically supporting documents, and they are required documents for this enrollment application. Again, this is a feature that we felt was necessary to add to limit the amount of deficient applications that we receive, or as you also know them as incomplete notifications. That way we're not wasting so much time out there and not getting the things that we need up front. It will also aid the site administrators to also be checking behind the teachers as well. We've also added, we changed the language a little bit when it talks about, before it was the EPP, we actually put a quick link in this application if they're completed online to access the BK approved list that we have on our webpage, so that if they are not affiliated with an educator prep program, then they have that at their hand, right off to go in, look and see which schools they may be interested in to complete their licensure requirements. We will need that information on this application. Again, that's some very, very important information for our unlicensed educators who are applying or who have been hired in a lead teacher position that requires licensure. If the EES does not know who the EPP is, if this is left blank on the application, again, this is a deficient application, and it will be considered on hold until we get the information from the teacher. So what most likely will happen is they'll get an incomplete notification saying that we need a name of your EPP so that we can send the form RL to them. So here again, this is very important, that a step that should not be overlooked when site administrators are looking over these applications and signing them for completion, verifying that they are complete. And then page 4, of course, is the site administrator verification of teacher documents form. So this is where the site administrator actually will check off, initial each box, and indicate that they have reviewed this application for completeness, and they're signifies that they have said that it is complete, they have all the supporting documentation, and that they are going to sign it at the bottom, indicating this completion, and they're going to send it in with, the teacher will send the whole packet in along with this signed application. Here again, the most important part is that we make sure that our teachers and site administrators are signing each page. And as you will note, I'm going to go back real briefly, that each page does have a signature at the bottom. Now, the signature at the bottom is the teacher. It's just signifying that everything that you're submitting to us is accurate. So that is a major necessity as well when it comes to making sure that everything is complete. So that is our enrollment, our new enrollment form. And I'm going to stop sharing at this time. And so the next slide that I would like to talk about is the new EES change of information form. The purpose of this enhanced form is to allow teachers, of course, in the past we've used it to update teachers' personal demographic information, such as their contact information, the phone number, email address, all, anything to that nature changes, they would use this form to indicate that. If the teacher changed employment sites, but they did not leave EES or a non-public program, then they would also complete this change of information form to let us know that they are now at a new site, and we would need to update that information in our human resource management system. And also with it's very intricate for our regional offices at UNC Charlotte and ECU, because they may have to switch mentor and evaluation assignments. So anytime a teacher leaves, they're encouraged to make sure that they complete this change of information form and get it over to the EES as soon as possible. Our regional offices at ECU and UNC Charlotte will also handle this for us. If they are notified, one of the mentors, the evaluators are, made aware that a teacher is not there anymore, they are now, helping us on the back end as well to make sure that this information is accurate. But the onus is really on the teacher for them to make sure that this is submitted to EES in a timely fashion. The new change form will also allow our teachers to inform us if they have changed educator preparation programs or EPP. Sometimes that does happen, and we found that to be an issue when we did the first year of the residency renewal. And so now what we're asking on the change form is let us know. If you've changed from UMO to ECU, we need to know because it does depend on our verification at the end of the year as to whether or not we will renew your residency license. So that's an added feature. We've also put in any admin or program changes for the site. I know yesterday Patricia also expounded on this and gave some excellent guidance as to how you all should report this information. But we would also like to know if the site administrator has changed, because what we have to do is we have to update it in our HRMS system. And we get a lot of kickbacks. We update the emails that we have, and we get a lot of kickbacks. And so this was one of the features that I thought would be helpful to add to our change of information form, just to let us know that, you guys have a new site administrator, and we will get that contact information and be able to update it as these forms come in. The EES separation of employment form, the purpose of this form is solely for termination of the teacher employment. They're no longer going to be serving as a lead teacher in one of our program sites. And what happens is the teacher is no longer eligible for EES services. If you take a teacher out of the classroom and place them as a assistant site administrator or a cook, a driver, if they are not in a lead teacher position, then EES cannot offer services to them, because a part of what we do as a local education agency is we provide services from licensure, and licensure is not required if you are serving as a position other than a lead teacher that requires a license. So at that time, the teacher would be responsible for submitting a separation of employment form. We have also received these forms from the site administrators. However, through our process, we have learned quickly that site administrators are submitting separation of employment forms on behalf of the teachers, and they are not actually separating from EES services. They actually need to do a change of information form, which just says that they have changed sites. So as you can see, the responsibility goes hand in hand here, and mostly on the teacher. When they are changing their employment site, they need to submit that change form. If they are leaving, we have specific reasons on the form that notate why they're leaving services. They're going to obtain a position at a North Carolina public school, they may just be on a sabbatical, etc. So these are this is required when they are no longer going to be employed in one of our program sites. For EES best practices, as we have indicated before, site administrators should review and sign all applications. Site administrators should also, keep an on-site copy of all documents submitted to the EES. This is actually in Child Care Rule. My apologies for not inserting that reference within this slide, but it is in Child Care Rule that site administrators should keep a copy of all documents submitted to submitted to DCDEE, actually, because it could be other documents that's non-related to what we do, but it may be for other teachers, like in other positions at the facility. So that is just, best practices that they should keep that on file. A complete enrollment packet versus a complete enrollment. We're going to discuss this a little more, but I have, decided to come up with an EES terminology reference, and we will add to this as we go. But I have a brief one that I'll share with you today. There is a difference between a complete enrollment packet versus enrollment. The complete enrollment packet indicates that we have a complete application with all signatures and all supporting documents. The complete enrollment does not take place until we have received all documents, like for instance, the Form RL with signatures have been completed and signed and sent back to us. And then at that time, we will send out a complete enrollment letter, and that is when you will know that a teacher is completely enrolled with the EES and licensure services may commence. The incomplete enrollment with a complete enrollment packet, it does exist. I just went over that just briefly. When this is when a Form RL is required, the EES cannot process an enrollment application until all the signatures are on that Form RL. And I know that someone asked yesterday about teacher eligibility. Well, this is a biggie for unlicensed teachers. That is why we prefer that they are already talking to an EPP. They know they're not licensed. They know they're seeking license. They have applied for a position that requires a license. They need to be active in trying to find out which EPP they're going to enroll with. That way it's on our application. It's not holding up time. If we have accurate information, we can submit that Form RL to the EPP designee for signatures. And usually, depending on the EPP, they're pretty quick to turn them around, provided the teacher has submitted all the information that they need to determine that eligibility for the residency program. An incomplete notice will even be, it will indicate an expected date of return. I will usually indicate 10 to 15 business days and an exact date at that range as to when they receive this incomplete notice. Teachers should actually contact their EPP. Once that Form RL has been sent out, the teacher should actually contact their EPP versus the EES for an update on that Form RL. The reason being is the process in which we send out these forms is through Adobe Sign, and the purpose for that is so that I can track it. I can track to see when the teacher has signed it, when the EPP has signed it, and then after they sign it, all parties get a copy of that actual form. So if they have signed their form and they contact me, the only thing I'm going to do is send them a snippet of the tracking that I have and let them know we're waiting for Catawba College to sign your form, and they need to contact them. So if you guys are aware of that, you can share that with them up front or the site administrators, so that way the process will go a little quicker. Continued best practices. What I wanted to do is just kind of outline for you all quickly as to what a complete enrollment packet for unlicensed educators seeking a residency license should include. First of all, it should have the EES BK enrollment applications complete with all teacher and site administrator signatures. The EPP should be indicated on that application, as I've already stated. An official transcript is required. They can either submit it by mail or electronic submission. And that can also be indicated on the enrollment application. So if they are not mailing it into us with the actual transcript in hand, they can notate now on the enrollment application that, hey, I'm doing electronic submission. And that way we'll know to look out there and find that application in our electronic repository. The plan of study is actually due 10 to 15 days post the EES complete enrollment notification letter. So for these unlicensed educators seeking a residency license, they are not tied to having a plan of study. We did away with that, changed it a little bit last year when I communicated with you all, so that in an effort to not slow down the complete enrollment process. Those plan of studies can be emailed directly to our EES unit email, and it's listed on the slide. Complete enrollment packet for BK licensed educators with a current license. Of course, they need a complete application with all signatures. They also need a copy of their official transcripts to place on file. They do not have to submit official transcripts because they are already licensed and they're already on file with EPI. We just need a copy of them on file with EES for our own purposes, best practices. They also need to submit a copy of their North Carolina Professional Educator's License. If they have a continuing professional license, which is a 5-year renewable license, they would need to also submit copies of their continuing education units, their PD log, professional development log. If they have a CEU summary report, like if they were with Wake County Public Schools, they would need to obtain that and go ahead and submit it to us. Now, this is if applicable. If they don't have it, it's not going to hold us up from going ahead and deeming that their enrollment packet is complete. We would just like to have it on file, jump on if they are in, especially if they're in a renewal year. Of 2016 to 2021, if they're coming to us, or next year, we would like to have that if possible, but that is optional. It will not hold up their application. For those who are current licensed educators, we will accept their applications via fax. And the reason for that is we don't have to have an official transcript for them. So we will accept those only. BK licensed educators with a current license, we will accept them via fax because they're only submitting a copy of the official transcript. And that way it could go a little faster for those folks that are already licensed. A complete enrollment packet for NC licensed educators seeking a provisional BK add-on. These are for people who are already licensed, whether they have an initial professional or continuing. We would need a complete enrollment application with all signatures. We would need a copy of their official transcript also. We would also need a copy of their NC Professional Educator's License and an official signed copy of the plan of study from their ECP. Now, this is a little different from the other process for like the residency teachers. The EES would be required to have their plan of study up front. The reason being is there are 2 different programs that are currently out there. There is the preschool plan and there is the BK plan. And we don't want to have the teachers enrolling in the wrong program, and we don't want to request the license incorrectly. So if they are existing license holders and we're just adding a provisional licensure area such as BK, they would need to submit their plan of study to the EES upon application. A complete enrollment packet for BK licensed educators with an expired license. Again, they would need a complete enrollment application with all signatures, copy of official transcripts to place on file, a copy of their professional educator's license. If they are continuing, we would need a copy of their CEUs, and that is intricate for them because with an expired license, the EES has to submit a request to DPI to validate a license that should be renewed. If they have enough CEUs, we can just renew it. If they don't, we have to validate it, and it will give them a 3-year period to earn those credits. If it is an initial professional licensed teachers with 3 years, then what we can do is extend their license for another 3 years in order for them to obtain. They may need to have completed BTSP or something to that nature, beginning teacher support, and that will give them that time frame to do it. So we have options that we can do. So if you run across teachers who have an expired license, that's okay. They're good to go. We have things that we can do to get them where they need to be. So some EES important reminders here. This coming April, we will be commencing on what's called our automated season for continuing professional license renewal, provisional add-on licensure area extensions. These will all commence about the licensure renewal is usually open on or about April 15th. That is through DPI. And what happens there is that window of opportunity is open for local education agencies, LEAs, such as DHHS, to automatically renew these licenses. Now, when I say automatic, there is still a little process where the teachers have to log into the system, they have to answer what's called statement of applicant questions and pay their $35 fee to renew their license. Our education program specialist, Gordon Millsbaugh, usually oversees this process where he will initiate the application, let the teachers know it's out there. He also handles their CEUs along throughout the year, so he will know who is efficient or deficient of their CEUs before we, as we call it, hit the button to say, hey, we're going to go ahead and approve this renewal. Once we hit the button, the license is automatically approved, so that's why we call it the automation season. The same thing for provisional add-ons. If they are done within the time frame before the license expires, then again, Gordon will go out there and push the button. The application will route to the teacher, and they will just have to answer statement of applicant questions. There's no fee for extensions. So all they have to do essentially is log in and answer those statement of applicant questions. And those questions are in regards to their criminal background, or if they have been ever had a license revoked or suspended, etc. And so that is just a checkpoint that DPI added in when they initiated this licensure system. In May, we should be preparing for teachers to submit the Form E, which is the educator experience form. That form is intricate for educators so that we can add their current year of experience. The 6 semester credit hour verification for spring 2021 semester will also need to be submitted. And the reason why we say, like May, end of May, is because most colleges and universities will not be ending until sometime in May. And then we also need to prepare for residency renewal. So here's just an overview of the automated licensure process for CCE renewal. I'm not going to go through it verbatim, but as I've already indicated, the teachers will need to submit their evidence to be used prior to April 15th because that's when the window will open. It gives you information as to what our program specialists will do with that information. This is just a tool for you all. I know that we will be sharing this with you. So I wanted to just have these steps available for you all at hand. So when you're not talking or having a presentation, you will have this to reference later. And I've already kind of gone over it anyway. And then this is the step-by-step process of the automated provision for provisional BK extensions. And as I've shared everything in here, most importantly, I just wanted to point out, teachers should submit evidence of successful coursework earned to the EES prior to May 30th. And the reason for these timeframes is just so it gives us more of how we're going to keep up with everything and making sure that DPI has enough time to complete their process as well. And then this is for the Form E, which is the verification of their professional educator experience. We will send out a detailed guidance on this and the residency license because I'm trying to see if I could tweak this process a little bit this year and kind of merge them. So if you have a teacher, they won't have to do a separate form to indicate their employment. As you guys may remember, or some may recall from last year, we did a BK verification of employment after the Form E were completed, and that was simply because I was just coming on board in April, and this process had already began. So we had to kind of modify the process a little bit, and we want to do it a little better this year. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there to you. These forms have to be in to us no later than May 30th because we have to input them into what's called the LEA license and salary information system into the database by June 30th so that DPI can do what's called their end of the year salary run by July 1st. And if the July 1st is when they do what we call the bump. I don't know if you've heard that before. The bump is when the current year of teaching experience will be placed on that teacher's license. And if this information is done after the salary bump, then it will appear like the teacher did not earn their time. So we want to encourage them to get this in as soon as possible. And then this year we will be having residency renewals for 1 and 2 year educators. So here's a quick overview of the residency license renewal process. Like I said, much like last year, what we will do this time is initiate the request for signatures. And that's why the Form E will be intricate, because I will know, hey, they are employed, because I have to verify that they're employed before I can send the form to the actual ECT. So again, I will be sending out detailed instructions and information as to how we will complete this. But this is just an overview of the Adobe process for you all. And here's our EES terminology references that I have started to pull together. I'm not going to go through them individually. However, I just wanted to point out that I wanted to clarify what the difference is of when you hear us talking or sending or requests through email, what the differences are. In regards to some of the acronyms that we use, like CPL, that's a continuing professional license. What is it? It's a 5-year renewable license that's issued by DPI after 3 years of successful teaching. So things of that nature I wanted to extract and pull out so that it's a little more cohesive between us when we're conversating about what needs to be done, what these teachers have to have, and why the enrollment is not complete. And then here again is some additional terminology references, just letting you know a little more detail, like what is considered an official transcript versus an unofficial transcript. So that is an additional reference for you. And that is all I have at this time. Lorraine, I know we're going to do question and answers at the end, so we can just move on and do it all at the end if you'd like.
We do have, you do have about, I think, 15 minutes left before the next presentation. So I don't know how many questions came through the Q&A, but if they're manageable, we can attempt them now. And if we run into a time issue, we can just stop and answer the rest at the end. So I leave it up to you, but you do have some time.
Okay.
We only have a few, so it would be manageable. Do you want me to give you the first one?
Yes.
Okay. When I'm placing new public school NC pre-K teachers in plan, they seem to meet these qualifications, but plan does not approve them. Do they have to sign up with DCD for a workforce ID?
For all teachers coming through services, they need to go through the DCD work to, one, get the workforce ID number, because that is also entered into plan. And we also, the approval in NC Pre-K plan is not automatic. So everything that's entered into plan, it then has to still go through. They have to come and enroll through EES, submit all their documentation, verifying what has been entered in plan. Once that has been verified, received everything, if a Form RL is required, etc., then our BK licensure specialist will go into plan and update plan with saying that they are approved, and they will, lack of a better term, click the button and give an okay to say, yes, this teacher is approved for service.
Deatrice, this question that I just gave you was related specifically to new public school teachers, NCK teachers.
Okay.
So they would not enroll with us.
It was for, I'm sorry, Faye, it was for public school?
Yes, public school.
Okay. That's correct.
Okay. And then there was just a statement that was made after that this would be helpful to record, just a section to share with providers. The next question is, what do site administrators need to do to move from an admin 2 to an admin 3 credential? And so that question really needs to go to Heather, I guess.
Right. That's a workforce education question.
Right. Okay. So we would not address that today. And then there was a question from Columbus County inquiring about if the change form is already available to use.
Yes, it should be out there, and I'm glad that you asked that question. Actually, it is because I just pulled it from the site. I was just making sure. So yes, it is out there. The change form, the application, and the separation of employment form. And I just want to also throw out there that we would like for everyone. If I know they probably have printed forms of the old enrollment, but in order to better efficient, have our processes efficient, more efficient, we really need for everyone to use the new enrollment form. So therefore, at 30 days from this date, we will no longer accept the old form. And the reason why I'm doing that is because that just further, it holds up our processes, and we're getting new staff on board, and we want them to be trained with the new processes versus looking at an old enrollment form and not knowing what to do with it. So thank you for that question.
Okay, I've had a few, just 3 more to come in. So let me give you those. The first one is, you may have said, but when will the new application be on the website?
It's up there now.
Okay, the next question is, person has a bachelor's degree in biology and has taken and completed 6 hours of undergraduate early childhood classes. Can they be hired as lead teacher if enrolled in a residency program?
If they are enrolled in a residency program and they have already been accepted into that program, then yes, they would be eligible. Now, when it comes to teacher determination or eligibility for an unlicensed teacher seeking a residency license, please keep in mind that the EPP has to sign off to say, yes, they are good to go. We can't tell you yes or no because there are some EPPs that have different, what they will be willing to allow for their educators. And essentially, when I was at DCI, they told us they have to shop around. And I know that sounds terrible, but that's what they're looking at it as. There's so many EPPs out here. If one won't give you what you want, then go to another one. So that is why the onus is primarily on the teacher. I know that throws us in a loop because of the type of work that we do, but that specific teacher per se would go to UMO and they say, yes, we will accept you. Just verify that you are enrolled with the EES, and then the ball will roll on. So it just depends. That's a very general guidance, but it just depends on each teacher's situation. Thank you.
Okay. You clarified this question, but I'm going to ask it again. The person said, I asked about DPI leads, but your answer confused me at the end. Do the new DPI teachers have to sign up through DCDEE? That was the first question.
Public school.
Yes, that was the first question I gave you for public school, and this was
right.
a follow-up question.
And they're not required to.
Okay, I have another question. Can you put the link up for the new application?
I sure can. I'm going to put it in chat right now. All right, there it is. And is that it, Faye?
That's all that I have.
All right. Well, thank you all.
Faye?
Yes, ma'am.
The workforce education answer, just make sure we have the correct name and or county so we can have Heather provide a response.
Yes, I think I did put that, but I'll double check to make sure I did that. Thank you.
Just as long as we have it for later. I don't want anybody to think we're not going to respond to their question just because Heather isn't on this webinar. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Detrius.
Thank you.
Okay, so Detrius, if you could pass the ball to Candace, please.
Hello, can y'all hear me without the ball?
Yeah, I can hear you, Candace. So I'm
Okay,
hoping
great.
everybody else can.
Okay, hi everyone. I hope our slides will advance. Oh, do I have the ball?
Not yet, Candace. I'm getting. I have to open up straight the screen a little bit so I can see you.
Oh, no worries, no worries. Hello everyone. We have 208 participants out there. Hi, hi, hi. How are y'all? We are so used to seeing y'all faces and traveling the state, which we would love to do. That's Celeste Pleasant. She can go ahead and say hello. And we have Courtney Barefoot, of course, here with us as well. She can say hello. Your camera's kind of down, Celeste. I don't know what happened.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah. Right, we're getting the ball. So did I get it? I think I have the ball now.
Yes,
Courtney. Hi, everyone.
Okay, good.
So, Candace, this is Christy. Does everybody that works in contracts name have to start with a C?
Yes, it does. That's actually criteria, and that's what we love to confuse people with that. Are my slides not up? Oh my goodness, where are my slides?
Give me a minute, Candace.
Oh, it's okay, no problem. Yes, so we're just happy to talk to you today. Courtney, you can go ahead and say hi while we got a second.
Hi, everyone. Courtney Barefoot. I'm the contract administrator for the private nonprofit.
Oh, don't get
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm Celeste Pleasant. I'm the contracts administrator for the public schools.
And
hey, Candace.
Yeah.
Your slides, where are they? Because they, Regina didn't put them out there. Were they sent to me or in Regina?
Okay, let's see here. Coming right your way.
Okay, give me a couple minutes. I got some stuff I've got to do to get them on here.
Okay. All right. So if you all know me, I can talk about NC Pre-K contracts without the slides. I hate that I've got it turned to this slide though. But we're not going to go too far. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, you do have a few minutes. We are ahead of schedule, so if you want to give it some time, I don't want you to feel rushed.
Okay, I'm not going to go too much into the presentation. I'm just going to, as far as what they would need to see on the slide, I just want to just go over briefly what we'll talk about. And we're just going to go over the contracts amendment 2 about how we are looking at the TANF eligibility and making sure that counties are able to stay within their TANF eligibility requirements, so they're able to make their payments to sites without having the anxiety that they won't have enough state dollars or other dollars to cover the slots versus TANF dollars due to the slightly low enrollment. Again, it's not that it's not as bad as I think some of us anticipated as far as the enrollment is concerned. So that definitely helped in regards to TANF. So we'll just give them a few more minutes to get the power. Yeah.
Candace, I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Janessa. So it's all one PowerPoint, so your slides should just be the next one. Are you using the...
Oh, there it is. Okay. No, it was not. I promise you. I have been clicking down the entire time. There was no 23. That's exactly what I was doing. So great.
Now it's working.
Now it's working. Okay. So NC Pre-K contract updates. We're going to go over contract amendment 2 right now of what we know about contract amendment 2 regarding the TANF swap, contract renewals. For 2021-2022, again, we have gone over that a little bit yesterday, and I think Ariel and Christy are able to hop on to speak more about how this conversation is happening, at a very high level. And so as we get more information about how the guidance will go for next year, we're definitely going to roll out that information as we have it. And then, of course, we'll go over your contract contacts, who you're supposed to contact. I know communication is, and support is really a big push for us as a whole team to make sure that you all know who to contact. And if you are unsure, that we do have that coordinator there. So Patricia could help us, with that. If there's somehow you're not getting a response. And then we'll go through questions. Have time. Like they said, we'll wait to the end for most questions, but because budget and contracts we know sometimes can get a little heady, I am going to allow for some questions. So if you could go ahead through the chat as you think of questions to go ahead and put them down if we have time, and Courtney and Celeste will be recording those for us, and that will be helpful because we don't want it to get too belabored, and if we have to come back and write a full document and do a whole Q&A, then we'll do that. But we just want to make sure we're holding space for you all to ask your questions, okay? So next we have our what's actually due at February 1st, 2021. You should have received an email from the DCDEE contracts unit requesting your annual certifications for this current calendar year. Sorry, my coffee. So that was due February 1st, 2021. If you are having any trouble or difficulty completing those documents, if you could send your contract administrator an email, just letting them know, why you're late, you will be receiving a you're on that, list email from them. Just asking to follow up to see if you need any support getting those documents in. As some of you all may know, these documents are required in order for us to even begin renewing your contract for this current fiscal year, for the next fiscal year, but current calendar year. So, this is just a brief review of what those documents are. We're not going to go deeply in detail because, as Lorena mentioned yesterday, we are going to have that new contractor orientation. For those who need to do a refresher, you're more welcome to come, but we really go into depth about what the contract looks like, what the pieces of the contract are, and especially what is required for you to hold a contract with the Division of Child Development and Early Education. So that's going to be a good training for you all and a good refresher for those who may want to brush up on some things. Okay. So just showing you what the screen is showing you when you get this PowerPoint on your own so you can explain it. It's on the left side, you'll have the public school contractor certifications that are required. And then on the right, you have the private nonprofit contractor certifications. And if you look, you'll see that they're, it's just the ones that are numbered, that all of the ones with the little paw print, the paw print bullet point, that is required for all contractors. So all contractors are required to submit a new substitute W-9 form anytime your principal address changes. So the main address that you do business at, that your agency does business at, we absolutely have to have a revised substitute W-9 so you can get your payments. The payment system has to be updated with your current address at all times. Then all contractors receiving federal funds, you're required to submit the FAFATA form. That's a separate form that you all get as well. And then all contractors must submit the required certifications to us, of course, like we've already went by February 1st, 2021. So if there's any questions related to documents and what's required, you can put them in the chat. I do love how Ms. Jones went over, the revisions to their application process, because we did a similar change in our area with our contract assistant, Ms. Geraldine Dumas. Shout out to her. She did a wonderful job of putting all the certifications into one PDF form. Some of us had some difficulty opening because it was a much newer program, but for the most part, we've gotten great feedback on how that is streamlining the process and getting all of your documents to your directors, to your superintendents, kind of in one piece. So, I'm kind of thankful for the technology push, but then again, it does get tiring sometimes. It really does. Okay. So any questions about that, please feel free to continue to drop them in the, not in the chat, but in the Q&A section, please. All right, so next we have the TANF funding swap. We're going to talk about Contract Amendment 2 for what we know about it now. There could be other things, as there is conversations going on every day, and we are getting changes every day to what the landscape, what is the predicted landscape of how the budget and everything will lay out for next year. So what we do know is that there are counties that don't have enough state dollars to cover their non-TANF eligible children, because in the beginning when your contract is budgeted, it's budgeted based off of the prior year or that current period in time enrollment. And so, of course, we know budgets, how they line up. They're kind of predictions. We don't want to get into it being too much of an estimate, but it's based off of prior, data usually. So there are counties that are affected. It's not, I would say, about 15 counties or less that are affected. So you will be getting an email separately. We'll be reaching out to you individually to let you know that your county is needs to have this swap, to happen. So that way you have enough state dollars to support your TANF, your non-TANF eligible children. And so, like I said, it's calculated. We're going to use December's enrollment as of right now. I just asked for that current updated data as of point in time yesterday. So we do have some ways in the system that we're enhancing that feature right now. So as of right now, I believe that TANF eligibility will probably more than likely be calculated based on December's enrollment. And that is a cumulative enrollment number. And I'm interested to have dialogue with the contracting agencies about this. So as we reach out to you individually, we'll make sure that we're fitting your needs and your funding is balanced to where we're all on the same page about what is needed. So definitely drop any questions that you have about that. And then again, what we're saying is it's going to be swapped. Your TANF funds, if you don't have enough children, TANF eligible children, what will happen is those funds will be swapped back, because we all know we had that huge, well, we all may not know, I don't want to assume, but we had a huge TANF swap in the program where state dollars were swapped for federal TANF dollars. And so now we're going to have to swap some of that money back. And so we're able to do that just by rearranging some funding in the counties. So some counties will actually be affected. You will see some of the larger counties where we'll have to increase their TANF amount and decrease their state amount. So that way we will have the funding to provide to those other counties in state dollars. But it will be an even swap. It will be a 0-0 swap. So there will be no increases in funds or decreases. But it will be something that is important that we need to keep track of due to the fact that we're kind of in conversations with the feds about TANF and how TANF should be spent. And so we're trying to follow their guidelines. We're not trying to, we are following the federal guidelines on TANF. So you can expect the similar TANF funding levels for the entire program. It's about $68 million right now. It could go up slightly, but expect that same amount in the program, which means you can expect the same amount of TANF more than likely in your contract for next year, unless there's a change in slots and how they kind of pay that out and stuff, which we are still waiting to understand better the landscape of what this is going to look like statewide. So we don't have those specific answers of how much funding you will receive, but we can probably predict that your TANF funding will more likely to be similar, and definitely based off of this current period enrollment that you're in now. So continue to let me know if you have any questions. All righty. And so our contract renewals for 2021-2022, this is all we have on it. Honestly, team, we have that the request for the contract renewal budgets will be sent to you all by April 1st, 2021, as has been in prior years. We want to request the budgets from you all no later than April 1st, and that is to give everyone time to be able to roll out the changes to the program guidance for this year. So once the pre-K program guidance comes out with kind of like we had the interim guidance for COVID last year, maybe there won't be an interim guidance. Maybe we'll be back to being normal. So it will be just our regular program guidance. So, that plays a role in how your contract is written. And so we just have to, we have to wait it out just a little bit longer. But as we get that information, we will definitely be providing you the emails. And then I think Ms. Gonzalez had mentioned the cafes. And so those are absolutely a time to where in follow-up from these webinars, we'll be able to intimately, more closely be able to answer questions and be able to get into specific situations that you all may be going through. But y'all can always contact us. Courtney and Celeste, they stand ready. You can contact their mobile phones that are with the state. My mobile phone is listed on the listed on my email. You can always contact us through email. So please do not feel like you're not going to be able to get questions answered. We can tell you pretty much that, what we're telling you right now. It's just we are really working on that, and there's conversations happening. If Christy and Ariel want to say anything about that, that's great. Or anyone else. So.
Hey, Candace, sorry, it was Ariel. I was trying to unmute per 2021. I think, Candace, you did a great job of that overview. I think we are working through this together. And if you guys have questions, you know how to get in touch with us. I don't know that I have any more content to add, but just to say thank you, Candace, and the contract team. And thank you to all our partners for working with us as we move through next contract season.
Yep. And I want y'all to have full confidence that we are going to include you all. We are going to make sure that the best interests of children and families, are always foremost. So, and this is always happening at the governor's level. So you all know this. NC Pre-K is in the hearts of many people that lead North Carolina. So I'm confident that it's going to get much better and it's going to get much stronger. So just let us know if you have any questions throughout, and please don't feel lost, because we can get you to the right people as well if it's a question you're not sure that we can answer. So again, it just leads us into who our contacts are, which you also know. There's our faces again. I'm the contacts manager. You can always contact me, but it will be helpful if you would directly contact your contract administrator. If you're a public school, then your contract administrator is, there she is, Celeste Pleasant. And if you're a private nonprofit agency, so if you're just not a public school, you're not that. That would be Courtney Barefoot. So, yep. So they will get to you very quickly. I may have maybe an hour, couple hours delay, but they'll be right there for you. So we did have a question slide because we do have a few minutes, because it went fast, because we usually are going over more of the procedures, for contracts, for next year. So we're definitely going to look to come back to you all and make sure as this guidance is rolled out that we're personally there to make sure we are, we're all in it together. So I don't want you all to take away that, there won't be another time for us to do this, because there will, but hopefully in a more intimate setting to where, we can all, feel confident and be able to really explore some what ifs, right? All righty. So doesn't look like we have any questions in the chat.
Yes, we do. We have a couple questions. Rebecca Snar, I apologize if I'm pronouncing her name wrong. She wanted to know, when is that contract seminar? And I'm going to say the next question too, Candace, because it relates to the same as the first. When will the new contracts meeting be, and how do I participate? That's from Latoya from Columbus.
Okay, so it is kind of two parts. I think the first question is when contracts meeting, about this, about what we're going to do for next year. If I'm not correct, you can put that down.
She wants to know when is that seminar? When is that contract seminar?
Okay, so if you were talking about the new contractor orientation that I mentioned, those are usually scheduled in August, I believe. But again, the program team will really lead us on, kind of how we need to adapt in the light of COVID. So just in the past, that's just when it's usually been scheduled. And then I did mention just the smaller meetings about this work where we're going to make sure that we are all on the same page about contract renewals. Now, those meetings to be determined once we are able to get our guidance, able to get feedback and get our leadership help us, get our guidance together. Then we'll be able to ask for input from our contract agencies.
Okay, we had another one. Is there a way that we can make sure we have submitted all necessary documents?
Yes, you can email your contract administrator. Yeah.
You can contact me.
Yeah. Or you can ask Miss Geraldine Dumas, who's our contract assistant who sends out the documents. You can always ask her as well, because she's also verifying to make sure they're correct, and that's what takes the time. So you may not get it back. We'll say received, but not necessarily that everything is correct, because it takes quite a while to make sure all those documents have been signed and checked off appropriately. So, yeah.
And then kind of going back to what you said earlier, we have a question. Any idea on when we know our estimated allocation for next year?
That's why I would have to give you the same timeline that I would push, and Ariel's here, so I'm glad I'm going to be pushing so that we get you all a request for your budgets, which means that allocation spreadsheet would hopefully be done by April 1st, so we can request your budgets by then. But it's still giving us the 3-month time period that we have to execute. Yeah. So, I mean, again, I'm going to use that as a loose timeline, because we're still going to be pushing to make sure that services, there is no gap. That won't be, that won't be a question. So even if we had to do something to where, we got something in place and something else had to be changed, I mean, we're more than willing to do that. But I just wouldn't be overly concerned that there is any danger to your allocation budget for next year, or that, there would be a chance that, that you wouldn't be allocated, funding for next year.
When will we get information on our TANF expenditures?
So TANF expenditures, that's Sonia and Siobhan can help us on the exact dates on that. But that usually comes out a month. We need a month or two after closeout to actually give you the final numbers of how your contract was paid out. And that is due to things beyond our control, because our budget office at the department, they have to make sure that everything kind of balances out with our TANF overall. So adjustments are made at the end. So we just have to wait until we have the final numbers in to be able to give you that accounting. And I'm sure budget can hop in if I'm moving something out.
Hey, this is Milady. At the end of the state fiscal year, we will send out that spreadsheet that we sent out to them last year. It will let them know exactly how they spend their funds.
You'll receive it. They were just asking for a timeline, Milady. So you think, I think what we say about 30 days or 30 to 60 days, or?
Usually we send it to them in July when we finish doing all of the payments and any other changes that need to be completed.
Okay.
So about July, like we did this year, it was around July.
Okay. So that's good. That's excellent. You can get that data that quickly. I mean, that's pretty quick for us to be able to close out and get you that. But please, if you have any specific questions about your county and where they're at, Milady can help you. She can help you and tell you now. But also remembering, keeping in mind that it can change based off of how many TANF eligible children you have. And Atron just commented it would be July 16th that you all see the spreadsheet with the expenditures.
We had another one. It says, are we to contact them, and I think that means contract administrators, or go through Patricia McCarter as outlined in yesterday's communication plan? Just want to be clear. Thank you for clarifying.
That's if you have, we have just went over, just a brief presentation of what contracts go over today. So if you're new, I could understand you may not know what your contract administrator does. You may not know what your program consultant, you just may not know. And so that's what I think Patricia is there for. And I'm sure Janessa can, and Patricia can hop in, but that's what she's there for. When you just don't know, you just don't know, you're lost, you don't have a contact, you don't remember from these presentations who it is to contact, that is no problem. Contact Patricia, she's got you. But from this presentation, if you see what we go over, what we do as far as your contracts, as far as developing your, giving you your allocations for the year, I don't call them allocations anymore, team. It's your funding, your contract funding for the year. If you don't, if you have questions regarding that pieces, what your contract says, what you're held to as a contracting agency, if you're comfortable, please reach out to your contract administrator. Patricia is there to try to create that point of contact, for those who just may not know who to contact, or maybe you contacted us, all of us, and nobody has responded. So, you want to make sure Patricia is on those emails, because she will also, make sure that it gets to the right place. But if you know, we're here for you. And even if you don't know, we'll still direct you in the right way, in the right place. Yeah. I hope that helps. We don't want to make it more confusing. We're just trying to add you more support. So we're not trying to confuse you. Go with what you know. But when you don't know, contact Patricia. Okay. Well, any other questions? We'll just hold a little bit of space because we had till 12, I believe, for the presentation. We're not going to hold that much space, but I just want you to know you can still ask questions even at the end. There will be, once budget goes over, the closeout procedures. So there will be that period of time as well. So don't want to rush you off.
We do have one more. Unemployment tax refund, COVID-19, from 2019-2020, received in 2020-2021. Do the refunds received, which relate to NC Pre-K expenditures for the 19-20 fiscal year, need to be reverted to DCDEE?
Absolutely. I think we answered a similar question to that. But if we didn't answer that question, if that's the same person, I would be a little concerned, because I hope we answered your question. But yeah, I believe we answered that yes, there absolutely would be reverted back to the state if you had any funds that from that state fiscal year that you earned, because even earned interest is in that category, then it returns back to the state. Because there's nothing we can do. It goes back to the actual state, not to DCDEE. We've already lost it. So once it comes back to us, it's already going to be gone. So we don't get to reuse it. We don't even get to put it back into the program. And we're talking about a small amount here, team. So it's not a huge amount here, but that's fine.
Okay, I see another one. Our current contract months of service are September through June. COVID may have us opening up a little early next year again. So what would I need to do to change our service months to August to May instead?
Is that for this year? Or she said for next year?
I think she's talking about next year. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for your contract period is different than your service period. Your contract period is July 1 to June 30th. So, you would just want to contact your program policy consultant to make sure, they're understanding how your school schedule is going to work. But if you're operating between July 1 and June 30th, you're covered via contract. But I don't think programmatically they have you starting in July, but I'm not sure if that even is a thing. So that's why we have a program piece. A little gray on that.
Okay, we have another question from Tracy in Mecklenburg County. She said, will we receive a template for April 1?
Yes. I actually was trying to work on something similar to like we did the RFA for you all to submit through Qualtrics. And, an automated application that may not be ready. That may not be it. But I'm just telling you, we can definitely get the templates just like we normally do when we request for your budget. You'll either get a line item budget that you always get in Microsoft Excel, or we would have advanced to a more streamlined process. But that's what we hope to know more about as we know how it will change for next year.
And then we have Cassandra Evans from Vance County. Where can I get copies of the federal and state certifications and provider forms from? I just want to make sure I've submitted these forms.
Great.
We'll send them back out to you, Cassandra. I'll send the information back out to you this afternoon.
Yes. Hi, Cassandra. At our friends at Vance County. Okay. Any other questions, please let us know. We will probably go ahead and have an early lunch. We got another one?
I don't see any more. Celeste, do you see anything?
I don't see any more.
Okay. Team, did you feel like I answered all the questions thoroughly? Did you have anything to add? That's you, Celeste and Courtney.
I don't know. I thought that sounded great.
No, I think you did. Yeah.
I didn't have anything to add.
Okay, just make it sure, because it's sometimes two-part questions, so I want to make sure I thoroughly answered everybody that we can. All righty then. Miss Lorraine, I guess I'll have to try to pass the ball back to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, contracts team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As Candace said, we are way ahead of schedule. Don't know how that happened, but budget, I hope you guys are still on. You can actually jump right in next if you're ready.
Can't move the ball. Sorry, that's still on.
You might want to pass it to, I think Miladies is presenting.
Yes.
We had issues with dragging yesterday, Candace, and I think you might be better off clicking on her name.
It was just, it's
oh,
there.
You got it now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Right, good. Thank you. Okay, Miladies, you should be able to man the slides.
Mm-hmm. Good morning, everybody. Okay, this is Milady. I'm the accountant tech here in the budget team. And Trevon is our business officer for the NC3K. Our email here, whenever you send the FSRs or budget revisions, anything that has to do with the FSRs or budget revisions, it's BCDEE_NC3K FSRs@dhhs.nc.gov. Just make sure that underscore is on there, because some emails will not come to us if it's not on there. Also, we have Sonia. She is our business manager. She also helps us as well whenever there's questions or there's any issues with FSRs or payments. She will assist us. And her name is Sonia Betty. So we're going to go over our one-time early payment, budget revisions, FSRs for NCPK and CCDF, and the year-end closeout. First thing is our one-time early payment. Just note that this is not a cash advance, and your funds do have to be reconciled, and basically what that means is that you're reconciling the contract at the end of the year, but you don't have to return any of the one-time payment back, just to make sure that there is no negative line items whenever you do submit your FSR. Then okay, and then the budget revision at the end of the year, you cannot close out your the end of the year with any negative line items, and also you must submit your budget revision by May, no later than June. Reason why is because we do have 2 FSRs that you're submitting in May, which is May and June. And then we want to make sure that those budget revisions are completed in order for you guys to submit the final June FSR. Also, please make sure that you're spending down your CCDF funds. I do have, since I'm the ones that complete the FSRs, I have noticed that there are some CCDF funds that have not been used from some contractors. Budget revisions, when you're submitting them, please make sure you also submit the justification form, the budget template, and the FTE form. The FTE sheet, it's whenever you are going to move or realign any funds from the human resource part of the expenditure category, which is the first part on the FSR. Please make sure that you do submit that sheet. And you can click on this link on here, and it will provide you with all of the forms that need to be submitted to our office.
Excuse me, the lady.
Mm-hmm.
It is not, we don't see what you're talking about. Your PowerPoint hasn't gone down to the next one.
It's not showing? How about now?
Yes.
Is it showing now?
Yes. You're at the budget.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Did you want me to go back to do you want me to go back to the beginning?
No, I think you're okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay, guys. So again, for the budget revisions, please make sure you are submitting a justification form along with the budget template and the FTE sheet. And when you are submitting those budget revisions to the budget template, please make sure that you are specifying whether it's NC Pre-K or CCDF that you're realigning the changes from. Again, this is the link, and it will provide you with all of the forms that need to be submitted. For the year and our closeout final FSR submission, due to the one-time early payment, some contracting agencies' last FSR submission will be either April, which is May payment, or May, which is June's payment, depending on when school began for you. And then your CCDF and NC Pre-K FSRs must be submitted monthly, even if there are zero expenditures. There are some FSRs that haven't been submitted, but if you haven't submitted your CCDF and there's zero expenditures, please make sure that you submit them. And then all NC Pre-K FSRs and budget revisions must be submitted to the email right here again. Again, please make sure that it's an underscore on here in order for us to receive those FSRs and those budget revisions. Then the year-end closeout, your final status report FSRs to true up the year, it must be submitted by June 7th. That's the deadline date required by DCDEE. And in failure to submit by that June deadline may result in delay of payment. And make sure when you submit your FSR, please make sure that the totals are correct. If there are any errors, I will send out an email letting you know there's an error, and it also can delay payment. Contractors are required to submit 2 FSRs, the CCDF and the NC Pre-K, even if there are zero expenditures for the month. And DCDE must reconcile all funds by the end of each state fiscal year. And the funding spreadsheet, which was that question that was asked earlier, yes, we will send out that spreadsheet to you by July 16th. And then no unspent NC Pre-K contract funds will carry forward into next year. Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Ladies, this is Jeannie. I only saw one question come in, and the question was, is there an additional form we need to file to reconcile our one-time payment?
Now, I don't believe there's an additional form. Sonia, do you know if there's an additional form that they need to submit?
This is Sonia. You do not have to reconcile the one-time payment based on the guidance. That is a payment that you do not have to refund back. You just have to reconcile your contract, your workbook, to ensure that there are no negatives. And if you have issues with that, please reach out to the email, and we can work with you one-on-one with your workbook. Jeannie, I can't see all the chat. Is there any more questions?
Let me check. The question came in. Yes, there's a couple more that have come in now. Can the link, I don't know if they're asking, can you provide the link?
The link for the budget revision?
Angela Ramsey asked that question. Angela, is that the link that you're referencing? Yes, she said, the link to the budget revision.
Okay. Okay. It's up right here.
On the slide?
Yeah, on the slide, it's up.
Okay. We also got a question. We have CCDF funding. Hold on, the Q&As are coming in. It made this question disappear. Okay. We have CCDF funding in our budget for PD but many of those opportunities were canceled this year. Will that funding need to be returned, or should I request a budget revision to move that money to another category?
The ladies, you want to answer that?
Okay, I see it now. We have, okay, let's see.
I can go ahead and answer that. Yes, you would need to prepare a budget revision to move that money to another line item if it is needed. And again, if you need assistance with that, then reach out to us on the email and we can work with you one-on-one.
And then the question was, can you send the link to the budget revision out in an email?
Yes, we can send out that link.
And that's, okay, another one. What was the date for the last budget revision?
When they should be submitting the budget revisions along with both of the FSRs by June 7th or earlier than that. If they can submit it earlier than that, it would be great. Only because we do have 2 FSRs, May and June, to complete. So it would be great if they could send them before that. If not, then it will be June 7th.
And then Trevon replied in the chat that she had put the link for the budget revision in the chat box to everyone. And that's all the questions that have come in so far.
Jeannie, this is Lorena. Is that all the questions for budget? Do we have any other questions that we can address right now?
That's it, Lorena. All the questions so far have been answered.
Okay, well.
So we're doing good.
One more question just came in. The question is it possible to move some funds to IT since we are using more technology this year than normal with virtual learning? In the past, I know this has been limited.
If you need to realign the funds, yes, you can move those.
Is Candace still on? Because
as long as you're not going over the limit.
Yeah, Candace, if Candace is still on, Candace, I think one of the questions is, can they go over their limit? And I guess since it's COVID.
Yeah, as long as they're not going over the limit.
So this is Courtney Barefoot. So there is still that $5,000 IT limit, but I know that there has been some leniency this year, so I would say just reach out with what you're expecting for that. There should still be the $5,000 IT limit, though.
One more question, I think it's in relation to the last question. Who do I reach out to about the IT fund?
So that would still come through a budget revision. So you would still submit a budget revision, and then the ladies and I could talk about it, or Celeste, whoever her contract administrator is.
And we've got another question. What is the expectation of keeping signed attendance reports on file during this pandemic, since everyone is getting paid regardless of attendance?
So,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that the guidance that we had given at the start of the year was that we still expected contractors to make every effort to obtain signatures on those monthly attendance forms, so getting the site administrator signatures. However, understanding that in some circumstances that would be difficult. And so the guidance was, in those cases when a signature could not be obtained, that they would write COVID-19 on the site administrator signature line. But the expectation is still that efforts are being made to collect the signatures and that a process is in place to ensure that site administrators, are able to view those monthly attendance forms to verify.
Another question came in. Could you clarify what is considered IT expense?
So IT expenses would be like IT equipment. This is like computers, tablets, printers, just your standard, whatever has been an IT expense in the past. It's usually just equipment is what we're talking about.
Are there any other questions?
I do not see any more.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, budget team. Thank you, Jeannie and Sharon, for managing our questions. Hopefully we got everybody. We're way ahead of schedule. That means we're at the close of our regional meeting. And I don't want you to feel like we shorted you. As a matter of fact, a lot of today's presentations were provided a cushion for their time. So they came in pretty much what they predicted. So I apologize. I pushed it up because I just like to be safe. Ariel and Christy, I don't know if you're both still on, but I don't know if there's anything you want to add before we close, or should I just go ahead and move forward with closing?
Ariel, I will just say thank you so much to, you can't see me. Okay. Thank you so much to everybody for being on here. I know this was a ton of information in a brand new format, and so I am super appreciative of the entire NC Pre-K team for putting this together. So Lorena and crew, thank you for all of your hard work for making this happen. Thank you to all of our participants for being patient with us as we navigate the technology world of 2021. And I'm just really excited for what we can do together next year, and encouraged by how thoughtful you all are in serving our kids and families. So thank you, Lorena, for a chance for me to say that.
Thank you, Ariel. Christy, is there anything you want to add before we close?
Thanks. Lorena, I would just echo the same remarks. A great job, Lorena, for you and your team, and also the budget and contracts team. Thank you all for contributing. We're excited that we had so many participants to join us, and we hope that we provided a little bit of answers to questions and a little bit of relief and security that we're all in this together and we're moving forward. And it has been a great year, even though it's been a difficult year for all of us. And we can't thank our contracting agencies enough for all of the hard work that they've done. So we look forward to continuing to work together and look forward to a much smoother year, hopefully next year. So thanks, Lorena.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody that participated. Thank you to the participants who took the time today. If you have any follow-up questions, you know who to contact. I would start with your NC Pre-K program policy consultant first. Just like Candace said earlier, if for some reason you're not sure who the person is that you need to ask your question to, Send it to Patricia McCarter. She will make sure it gets in the right hands. Please be on the lookout this afternoon for the PDF version of this, of all the presentations from yesterday and today, minus teaching strategies. I did not get permission to share their slides, and I think that's because of proprietary information, so you will not be receiving that. If that changes, I will let you know. You should have received the link yesterday to the survey that Susan mentioned in her teaching strategies presentation. That was sent out yesterday afternoon, so that's in a separate email. Aside from the email you'll get this afternoon with the presentations, be on the lookout for surveys and other information that we mentioned in the presentation yesterday related to the communication plan, as well as any other webinars or meetings that we may schedule that we would like you all to participate in. With that being said, once again, thank you. This is the end of our meeting. Everybody gets, I think, at least 2 hours back to their day. So please enjoy it, and we'll talk to you guys real soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.
I am moving us to practice.